about any of the specific tracks? Do you have any memories of any of those tracks that
Oh yeah,
really
I mean, there's
got at
a
you?
definitely just like uh there's so many Kofi moments that stand out for me on that album. And specifically the couple of flute moments and there's a and Let Me Get By. Like that organ, that whole organ thing is like that. And same with Midnight in Harlem on Revelator. Like those are just sessions where you're like, Kofi comes in and sort of does his magic, and you're just like, when the take's over and you got to say something to him on the talkback mic, you just want to be like, thank you. I don't know what to say. Like, thank you. That's it. Come on in. Bring your stuff.
Yeah, that is some of the most like iconic TTB moments in their songs are really Kofi moments. I'm just thinking about the flute obviously on Idle Wind and the flute even on I Want More, and that outro part of the song
Yeah,
is just such a
yeah, totally. That's what I was thinking of on I Want More is kind of a behemoth on that record. But
yeah, and thinking about Let Me Get By and the organ riff and him and Derek, how they would go at it, like
yeah,
with that just the beginning intro of the song, like that's what I would be like tuning in for, like if
yeah,
I was lucky to hear a fan recording, I'd be like, how are Derek and Kofi gonna do that little back and forth riff? Because they would always do something like a little bit different, and on that song, Kofi would do like some of the most far out
yeah, man.
spacey type solos on Let Me Get
Totally.
By that you would
And
not even think would
especially
fit with
when
that song,
totally, man.
but
And
do.
with Tim used to take that one to different places with Kofi, and that was such a interest. I loved that the dynamic between those two when they were in the band and where they would take that solo specifically.
Yeah, a lot of good memories, amazing memories, and amazing songs. And I come back to it and go back to it like all the time, of course. Like not a day probably goes by where I'm not listening to some Kofi recording or something
Yeah,
live.
no, yeah, he comes up all the time around here.
Yeah, and I bet. And even when I'm just like listening to the band throughout my day, I'll be cooking, I'll be working out, but I will sometimes stop, be like, what was that sound? What did Kofi just do?
Yeah, no
Where did
doubt.
that come from? How do you even like think to do that? Like I don't
Yeah,
even.
he was definitely a special creature.
Oh, for sure. What about Signs?
As far as the music side of it for me, I mean that record. I mean that's the one that like you know I have a hard time listening to that without really thinking about Kofi the entire time. The whole thing. And of course, we didn't realize this while we were making it. And it's just so interesting how this shit becomes true. But it's true that it's a very Kofi centric record. We never intended it. I mean, nobody could have predicted he would die the day we released it. And it was, I mean, yeah, it's really strange the way the universe works like that. But that record turns out to be pretty Kofi centric for me in the best way possible. I think some of the most interesting stuff on that entire album, and I do really love that album, is Kofi. I mean, that holds true a lot of the time, but there's something just a little bit more special about Signs with Kofi's contributions, the flute and uh, on yeah, and Still Your Mind, and yeah, I mean, it's just there's some amazing stuff on there. That's yeah. So Signs to me, besides the technical feat that it was, is very much a totem of with Kofi sitting atop.
Yeah, no, I can follow all that. It's just such a special album, and I think it was a masterpiece. And for me, like it was definitely the right album at the right time. Like just for me personally, and I
Yeah,
really connected to it, and all the songs are so powerful. It's a very emotional album, and I could use the same descriptions for all TTB albums and a lot of their songs, but something about this one really just really hit home for me. It was just the right music. It always is the right music at the right time with this
yeah,
band. I don't know.
that's the evolution of a band, man, and that's just the band being honest. And I think people who are into them, sort of the way some of the bigger fans are into them, when you're on the ride, everything makes sense. Like we're all on the same ride, especially if you're in deep and reading about the band daily, like guys like you. you know, so like, yeah, we're definitely going to feel like it's of the time.